this road on the show. Hello friends, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is B-Dunk's Astrology. My name is Becky. If you do not know me, now you know me. I have another weekly forecast for the week of October 11th to October 17th, 2020. I want to also say happy Thanksgiving to my fellow Canadians. It's a Thanksgiving long weekend here in Canada. Times are definitely strange, to say in the least, but I hope that everyone has had a chance to celebrate and enjoy in the best ways that we all can right now. So for this week, I've decided to title the episode Anger Management. I think it's a fitting title. Unleash in the right time and place before you explode at the wrong time and place. This is a quote that I found from a guy named Oli Anderson, and I think this quote is perfect for this week. We have the sun making some challenging, stimulating aspects to Jupiter and Pluto and Mars this week. We also have Mercury going retrograde. That's happening on the 14th this week. And on the 16th, we have a new supermoon in Libra. So it's an eventful week. Lots of excitement going on, lots of things happening. Like I said, I think the main theme of this week is all about how we control our anger, how we manage our anger, how we manage our emotions in general. How are we managing ourselves as we are being triggered and we're reacting to all of these changes and challenges that a lot of us are being presented with? Discovering why we are being triggered in the first place. Digging deeper into those stories that we're telling ourselves whenever we do get triggered. What is the narrative behind that trigger? What is the truth behind that narrative? Digging deeper into these stories that we keep telling ourselves that ultimately keep us stuck in a state of emotional reactivity. So I think this week is a good opportunity for us to discover how we are using this energy that gets built up and pent up within us whenever we aren't finding a productive and useful channel to expel that energy. And all the while dealing with this feeling of feeling stuck, feeling like we're driving with the brakes on, feeling like we're just held back from doing all the things that we want to be doing right now. Especially with Mars in retrograde, that energy, that theme is perpetuated for the rest of the year, really. Mars is still making a pretty steady square with Pluto this week too, so we're definitely still feeling the heaviness of that. And then come middle of the week when the sun opposes Mars, there is going to be this feeling of just being at a standstill, being stuck and frozen in time, like a lull in psychological time. So things could get a little tense, could get a little challenging, but it's okay. It's okay because every single challenge is just another opportunity to push past something. If we hold on to that view, it shouldn't be that bad. Starting the week off on Sunday, October 11th, the sun is making a square to Jupiter. The sun's sitting in Libra right now, so calling the focus to the relationships in our lives, the way that we relate to others in our lives. And Jupiter is making his way out of Capricorn. A Sun-Jupiter connection can go one of two ways generally. With Jupiter sitting in Capricorn, the emphasis is being put on the boundaries, the structures, the foundations in our life. And Jupiter he is known as the explorer. He's known as a visionary, a quester. So we can use this visionary-esque, broad-minded energy that Jupiter offers us anytime he touches a planet, and using the theme of Capricorn to apply to the themes of Libra, how we are emphasizing the boundaries that we are creating for ourselves in our life to protect and maintain and restore harmony within the relationships we have. The type of foundational, rudimentary, structural boundaries that all healthy relationships need and require in order to thrive and survive. Jupiter is known as an explorer. He has a hopeful heart. He's always looking to help. Anytime the sun and Jupiter get together, it does run the risk of some of us coming off as a little patronizing, almost as if we are sitting on a high horse and that we know better, we know what is going to serve the greatest good for everyone and everything. And that can come off as a little, We will feel a need to just give our love and our generosity and our efforts in any way that we can with this energy. But the way in which we go about doing it can come off as condescending or patronizing and may not be received as well and as graciously as we intend and we hope. No matter how well placed our intentions may be, a Sun-Jupiter square can cause some godlike identification within us, where any sort of efforts of compassion or charity or altruism is coming off as almost like a paternal like arrogance, like I know better, I know what's good for you. And no one likes that. No one likes being on the receiving end of that. So if you are on the giving end, or you maybe are on the receiving end of that, it can come off as a little patronizing, and we might backlash, or we could receive some sort of backlash, which is to be expected. Even though we might just be trying to do the right thing, or that person might just be trying to do the right thing. This aspect does provide us with some amazing inner authority energy, which I think is really, really needed right now with a lot of the Saturn and Pluto stuff happening. You know, a lot of the harder aspects that are happening this month are all working towards taking away our sense of inner authority and inner power. So we could definitely try to channel this energy and use this energy to make the best of some not so great situations. And again, because it's a square, we just want to make sure we're not projecting any sort of higher than thou energy or vibes to anyone with this aspect. At the same time, the sun is also going to be making a quincunx to Neptune sitting in Pisces. This is going to bring in a bit of an interesting spin onto the energy. Neptune seeks to heighten and transcend any planet that it makes contact with. With this quincunx aspect, this almost inability to blend to the sun in Libra, this could intensify the feelings of yearning for more. Neptune is a dreamer, Neptune is a visionary. And with the sun in Libra, we could be yearning for more in our relationships. It could be a yearning for more of ourselves though, a yearning for more of the relationship that we have with ourselves. Alternatively, because this is a quincunx, it could go in the opposite direction, and a lot of us could maybe feel like we aren't able to envision a future. We aren't able to dream up some sort of resolution to any issues that we may be having within our relationships, or again, the relationship with ourselves. Inability to imagine what could be. We might be too just grounded and rooted in our egos to allow our imaginations to go where they want to go, to allow the higher mind that Neptune offers us to just be swept away and idealize a future that might be better for us, but we again just can't see it right now. This unwillingness and this inability to dive deep into our imagination and our dreams could also stem from things from the past, issues from the past, where we tend to play a victim role or a savior role, one of the two. They are inextricably linked, I personally think. But when you play the victim, you become and you stay so identified with the past and this feeling of always needing to be saved, waiting for someone to save you. Or if you're identifying with the savior role, you're always looking for someone to save, something to fix. Either how, whenever you're stuck in that identification, that role, you're staying rooted in a past story, and it prevents you from being able to recognize what's around you in the present and envision a brighter future, a different future. I think with this quincunx, we're being called to find new ways of relating to ourselves and relating to others. Or maybe not even a new way, but just finding ways that we can remain connected to ourselves, our higher selves, and relying on this internal connection to ourselves to help us navigate and guide us through any situations that we find that we're questioning ourselves, questioning our sense of self. At the same time, Jupiter is also making a sextile to Neptune. So this is a very interesting dynamic we have here with the Sun and Jupiter and Neptune. So despite the difficulty of the quincunx, with Jupiter making a sextile to Neptune, this is amping up the dreaminess big time. This should allow us to dream big, take our dreams to the next level. With this planet dynamic, I think a lot of us might find that we just have our head in the clouds a bit. Some of us could be romanticizing ideas about our relationships or dreaming up ways where we can transform our relationships to be something that we really want them to be, the perfect version of them. But there is a big susceptibility though for us to get just too lost down this rabbit hole and fantasize about things that are completely unrealistic. This could even cause some of us to be so secure in these idealized fantasies that we project these ideas onto other people and they may not be received so well. People might be thrown, people might disagree, you might feel judged. The negative side of this aspect is the tendency to want to escape. Things aren't aligning exactly as we'd like with our grandiose plans, all of the plans that Neptune brings in for us. When things aren't going our way, Neptune tends to like to distract and avoid and disregard the harshness of reality. This could be in the form of substance abuse, drinking. It could even be just watching too much TV, overeating, anything that we use to numb and distract. Anything that we do that leaves us no time to just simply be with ourselves. So I think it's going to be really important for us to allow ourselves some time to sit with ourselves and just be and internalize and self-reflect so that we are able to effectively and productively sift through these dreams that we might be imagining right now and see what's actually realistic. What do we actually want? What can we actually make happen for ourselves? And do these dreams align with our morals and our values and our beliefs and our ethics? That's Jupiter and even the sun. Is it aligning with us? Or are some of these dreams just out of a reaction to a situation that we're emotionally reacting to right now and it's not necessarily what we want in the grand picture? On October 12th, Mercury is going to be making a sextile to Venus. Mercury is sitting in Scorpio and Venus is sitting in Virgo. We'll be thinking thoughts of love and harmony and peace and beauty with this aspect, I think. It'll also feel like we're able to express ourselves in a very charming and tactful way. This is an amazing energy for writing poems or songs or music, playing music, listening to music, writing short stories even, anything that allows us to appreciate the beauty of language. Kind of energy, I think, where we're just gonna feel like we wanna socialize and chill out and have a good time, have a harmonious time with our loved ones, enjoying just the company of others. If there are any difficult conversations that we need to have in our relationships right now, I think this is a really great energy to take advantage of and to do so because we will be feeling more harmonious in the way that we communicate, more willing to listen to the other side. I think a lot of us are just generally going to be feeling amicable and agreeable and willing to resolve any problems that might be on the table or under. On October 13th, the Sun is going to be making an opposition to Mars. This is a pretty potent energy that I think we're going to feel not only on this day, but the day before and the day after as well. There's a few ways that this aspect can manifest, and I think it'll be dependent on how it's affecting your individual chart. Usually with Sun-Mars contacts, there is a sense of urgency, a lot of energy that gets stirred up within us. It could create feelings that we need to attain and do and achieve. Because Mars is in a very unique retrograde phase right now in his home sign of Aries, this could pump a big brake on that energy and we are most likely going to feel really stuck. Like we're driving with the brakes on almost. It's going to feel like there's this standstill, like we're frozen in time and no matter what we try to do, we just can't push past it. Within these feelings of being stuck and held back, more specifically, it could feel like we are at an opposition with ourselves. we are the ones holding ourselves back. There's an internal battle that we've been fighting within us, and we don't know how to go about finding a resolution. Competition is a big theme with the Sun-Mars contact. So again, it could be an internal competition, an internal war that we're fighting. Two different parts of ourselves that we just can never seem to reconcile, or parts that we may not be ready to quite yet meet. Darker parts of ourselves, embracing our shadow side more. Our shadow side, or doing shadow work, is actually a Jungian concept. It comes from Jungian psychology and involves integrating the conscious part of ourselves and the subconscious part of ourselves. It's a process of learning how to embrace the darker shadow self that we always tend to hide away and never show anybody. It's not easy work. It's definitely not for anyone that isn't ready to do it. But doing this type of work, learning to embrace our shadows, could lead some of us to feel like we're finally able to step into our own power, step into our own authority, step into us fully. It's bringing together parts of ourselves, parts of our ego, parts of our personality that we don't tend to shed light on or pay attention to. And when we're able to integrate and bring together all of these different parts of ourselves, it can be very empowering, because it's like we're finally meeting these sides of us that we've been ignoring or felt like we were going to be judged for. And it's almost like we're coming to this sense of completeness within ourselves. And when we tune into our own inner authority, we can become a really big force for change, a force for change in our own lives, a force for change in other people's lives. But with this sense of authority, with this sense of power, some of us could feel like we aren't necessarily ready for it yet. Like we don't know how to handle it yet, because we've never had the opportunity to. We don't know what it feels like to step into our own power and step into our own authority. So we don't know how to handle all of that responsibility. And it's because we've been telling ourselves a completely different story, a completely different narrative our entire lives. One that is disempowering, one that tells us we have no self-dominion whatsoever. We've been told who we are and what we should want and what we should do our entire lives. So when we are finally the ones that are actually calling the shots, it can be scary. It can be overwhelming. But I think this opposition does offer a lot of us who've been identifying in that way to finally re-spark our passion for life, re-spark our passion for living. Because I think it's through that, through wanting to live our lives in the most authentic and vivacious way, that desire, that drive, that will is what will help fuel us to take our own power back. Some of us could be having intense spiritual realizations. Whether spirituality is something that you incorporate in your life, whether you're religious, it doesn't necessarily always have to be the same thing, but whatever spirituality means to you, especially if maybe you're older and spirituality hasn't been something in your life, this could be a time where you're rediscovering a sense of ethereal power, this unseen power that you know has an impact on the tangible life. Getting in touch with the things that are beyond the physical. And again, whatever it is that you believe in, it's getting familiar with those beliefs, getting in touch with those beliefs. Or again, it could be just rediscovering a general zest for life. It could be rediscovering a passion, something you used to be super passionate about in the past, and that area of your life has grayed over time, and you're picking that passion back up. This isn't necessarily the type of energy that we can just sit and meditate away. This is going to be the type of energy where we feel like we need to do something. And I think that's what exactly we need to do. I think we're being called to find ways to use this energy that's being built up within us and channeling it into something productive. I'm familiar with the kind of energy that's being built up within us. What are the emotions behind this energy? What are the stories behind these emotions? Becoming aware of the way that we are reacting in life and understanding why we're being reactive and triggered in the first place. How can we take action first? How can we act as opposed to react to things in life? And with Mars, again, we're dealing with anger, so we can take a look at the ways that we're allowing our anger to control our reactions. How are we not honoring our anger? How are we allowing our anger to go overboard and turn into aggression? Anger doesn't always have to be a bad thing. Anger can motivate. Anger can do things that are productive and for the good. A lot of us have a chance here to do some self-reflection and remind ourselves again that anger doesn't always have to turn into aggression. Anger can be used for something productive. So how can we channel this energy and put it towards something useful? On October 14th, Mercury is going retrograde. Damn Mercury and Gatorade. Mercury's retrograde is going to last from October 14th until November 1st. It's coincidentally also election day. A Mercury retrograde is classically known for things like technology issues, communication issues. It could affect our thought process. Retrogrades in general are a time for anything to do with so re-examining, re-evaluating, reflecting, revising, redoing. So all of these words we can apply to Mercury themes, such as the way that we learn, the way that we communicate, the way that we connect, the way that we put dots together, the way that we exchange information. Mercury going retrograde in Scorpio heralds in, I think, an intense period of self-reflection. Scorpio is all about getting to the bottom of things. Mercury in Scorpio is like a detective on a murder case. He is all about getting to the raw, real truth, turning over every rock and stone and not being scared of what he could find. Secrets, hidden truths, shocking revelations, these are all Mercury and Scorpio themes. I feel like with this Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, we are being invited to reevaluate and reflect on the way that we have been honoring the truth. And that could be the higher truth, the capital T truth, the greater truth in every single situation we are in. It could be the truths within ourselves. Are we telling ourselves the truth? Are we being honest with ourselves? Are we living up to our own truths? Are we telling the truth in life in general? Are we the type of person that speaks the truth and isn't afraid to meet the truth face to face? Telling the truth is usually the harder way to go. It's not easy, especially if it's a truth where we know we could hurt the person or that the truth is going to do some sort of harm. But as we all learn, in the long run, telling a lie is usually the more painful and harder way to go. It's super hard to recover from a lie and rebuild that trust again. Thankfully, with Mercury and Scorpio energy, we should be more empowered and enabled and feeling more comfortable with facing the truths, no matter how shocking or hard or difficult or scary they may be. And we should feel more confident and secure in saying what it is exactly that we want to say in a clear, concise, and direct manner. The way that we communicate while Mercury is in Scorpio is usually very precise and direct, and no beating around the bush, no added fluff. A retrograde Mercury, though, could impact the way that we communicate and the way that we process our thoughts. It could make things a little bit squirrely. Either way, there are probably going to be times where we do want to bite our tongue and watch our words and just think before we speak, so that we're not going overboard and completely shocking and shaking up the world around us with the potential brashness of the way that we deliver these truths. Some of us could be taking this energy in the complete opposite direction, though, and keeping our own secrets hidden and internal to ourselves, not necessarily feeling the most comfortable with sharing our truths. That is also very Scorpionic. Typical Mercury retrograde things we do want to watch out for. We want to be mindful of our technology. There is a propensity for technology to shit the bed. We could have our technology dying on us during this retrograde. Anything from a phone to a laptop to a microwave to a vacuum. Especially if it's an older piece of technology, I wouldn't be too surprised to see those types of things just completely dying at this point, as Scorpio is related to death and Mercury being relative to technology. We'll also want to take a little bit extra precaution when we are doing any sort of short distance traveling, taking more time when we're driving, just being extra cautious. Again, Scorpio is associated with death and accidents and injury, and Mercury is associated with the third house, which has to do with short distance traveling. So we just want to take a bit of extra time and awareness and caution if we are doing any sort of short-term traveling right now. On October 15th, the Sun is going to be making a square to Pluto. The need to be in control will be strong with this aspect. This is a potentially quite challenging aspect that could bring in feelings of self-doubt, questioning ourselves. This could be due to a conflict that we're dealing with right now, whether it be a personal issue or just struggling in general to accept and come to terms with a lot of the changes and upheaval that's going on around us right now. Whatever the case, whatever the crisis is, it's likely going to be the type of situation that completely transforms, that's Pluto, completely transforms the way that we relate to ourselves, the Sun, and the world around us, really. Our relationships are likely going to be impacted as well with this transit, as the Sun is sitting in Libra, the sign of relationships. This could be relationships with some sort of authoritative figure or figures in your life, some sort of father figure, any sort of other person, other being, other entity that has some sort of power over us. We could be dealing with issues that make us feel like our privacy is being threatened, or our space, our bubble is being invaded. And so we'll feel a huge need to defend and protect our sense of privacy in our own space. Maybe even to a degree, defending and protecting our identity. I think no matter what issues we are navigating with this transit, one of the best ways that we can go about restoring harmony and equanimity and balance within our relationships that might be under stress right now is remembering that no matter what, we always have to defend ourselves when the time calls for it. And there's a huge importance in learning how to recognize the things that we can change and the things that we can't change, and just trying our best to navigate our way through any situation while remaining grounded in that awareness and remembering that really the only things that we do have control of and the things that we can change is our reactions to things, the ways that we perceive things. At the same time, the Sun is going to be making a trine to the North Node sitting in Gemini. The North Node, again, being representative of our karmic life purpose, our life path, those situations and challenges in life that will ultimately provide us with the most growth for our self-development. This is a very highly karmic aspect, and it's all about developing our ego, developing our sense of self, our will to do and to create and to live life. This is a rather auspicious aspect, and that should bring in a lot of great opportunity for us as individuals. We're likely going to be presented with situations, particularly again within our relationships, the Sun being in Libra, and the North Node sitting in Gemini, so that is even how we communicate, how we relate to others. These types of situations that are going to allow us to surpass a level of consciousness that we once had, but we have since grown and learned from and developed from. We're probably going to be feeling like we don't want to approach situations in the same ways that we used to. Rather, we want to use the lessons that we've learned from these past situations and apply them to the current conflicts or issues that we're dealing with now. The way we go about approaching handling these conflicts, the way that we approach these more difficult situations will be an opportunity, will be a catalyst in the growth and in our self-development as our own person. The conversations we have with others and the conversations we have within our relationships are going to be very important right now. And again, the way that we go about communicating, the way that we go about relating to others will ultimately present us with a choice that is going to set us down a path that we'll probably feel ready to start walking down, a path that we're ready to step into. Since this is a trine aspect, it's an easy aspect. And it's one that we're ready for because we know that this is the path that's going to ultimately lead us to the most growth, the most self-development. This is the path where we need to be. Anytime the North Node is being aspected, the South Node is being aspected. So the Sun is making a sextile to the South Node sitting in Sagittarius. With the sextile aspect I've mentioned previously, it's the type of aspect where it's a coaxing type energy. So there might be a little bit more effort required on our part to actively recall these lessons from our past. And we might have to make an active choice to choose to use the wisdom that we've acquired from these past experiences. But all in all, it should come still fairly easy to us. It should come intuitively to us. So it shouldn't be too difficult for us to remember what worked for us in the past and what didn't. On October 16th, we have a new moon in Libra. This is also going to be a new supermoon. Anytime we have a supermoon, whether that's a new moon or a full moon, that's when the new moon is occurring to the closest point to the earth that it could possibly be. Anytime we have a new moon, it is a time for setting intentions, planting seeds. It's not necessarily a time for action or taking action or doing things per se. It's more about the planning aspect, planting seeds for a new future, for a new project. So with this being a new supermoon, I think this is a very potent and powerful new moon that we can really take advantage of. Again, with the new moon being in Libra, this is highly focused on our relationships. So that's where we could be focusing our intentions towards, is what is it that we need to do within our relationships to sow seeds for the future, for more harmonious and balanced, and the type of relationships that we want to keep in our lives, the type of relationships that serve us. I will be making a separate forecast for the new moon as well as the full moons for the month of October, since we actually have 2 full moons this month. The first one being on the 1st of October and the last one being on the 31st. So stay tuned for that. I will put more information and more details about the new moon in that forecast. Finishing the week up on Sunday, October the 17th. We do have some tensor aspects starting on this day, but they're going to become more exact on the following day, on the 18th. So I'll put some more information out about that on my next forecast. But on the 17th, the moon is going to be making an opposition to Uranus. Earlier in the week, it was already making different aspects to Uranus, and now coming into a position of being opposite to Uranus and Taurus, who is also retrograde. The moon is sitting in Scorpio at this time. Opposition could cause some sort of emotional upset or turmoil, emotional reactions to sudden changes or upheaval. There's an urge for emotional independence, emotional freedom, which could cause some tension within our relationships. I wouldn't say this is the best time to be making any sudden, brash decisions, because any decisions that we make at this time are probably going to be ones that are based off of an emotional reaction. Our intuition might be off with this opposition, so it's going to be wise for us to just try to be as mindful and aware of ourselves as possible and aware of our emotional reactions. For even the way that we communicate today could cause upset and shock in itself. Our mood is probably going to be fluctuating and subject to change as well. So it might be best to end the week off just having a quiet weekend to yourself, giving yourself the space needed to allow your emotions to fluctuate and change and explore and go where they need. All while staying mindful though, and watching where it is that they go and getting curious as to why they're going there, what's causing them to go there, what's triggering me, without necessarily acting on them or doing anything about them per se. Anything that can cause a massive chain of events, like a domino effect, where the result might not be something we actually will want to avoid doing today. That's it for this week, folks. I hope you enjoyed. If you found this forecast helpful, I would really appreciate if you could like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, all the good things that support and help the podcast and my YouTube channel. And since it is Thanksgiving weekend, I just want to take a moment and say how grateful I am and so thankful for everyone that has been watching and listening and supporting so far. It truly means the world to me. I am just so happy and thrilled to be able to share these types of astrological insights with people and have them be received so well and have people resonate with them. So that's the main reason why I do this, and this is what's keeping me going. So just thank you so much. Thank you. As always, if you'd like to schedule a one-on-one reading with me, you can do that by checking out the notes. A link should be there. If not, just find me on one of my social profiles, and the links are all available there as well. And yeah, that's it. I hope you have a phenomenal week. Take care of you, take care of others, be gentle with yourself and others. And yeah, I will see you next week.